Good afternoon, members of the Fourth Estate. We have not seen each other for some time. We are still around. I'm so happy to also see you in your numbers. You are still around and you are following events of our beloved country, Zimbabwe. And when you come to Zanupf headquarters, the part of the permanent Zimbabwe revolution led by His Excellency President Emerson Mnangagwa, we feel warm. We feel that we are in sync with the sentiments not only of the domestic audience, but also of the regional and continental well-wishers of Zimbabwe, and of course the increasing goodwill which Zimbabwe is garnering on the global stage. In New York this week, there will be the vote on the Security Council seat, which Zimbabwe has been campaigning for some time. We keep our fingers crossed that the work which has been done by our campaign team led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister Murwira, will bear positive fruit, which is an affirmation of the restoration of prestige in Zimbabwe, trust and prestige and confidence in Zimbabwe, courtesy of the good work of President E.D. Mnangagwa. It is a common cause that up to 2017, we had become a pariah state. We were disparaged in almost every aspect. The sanctions were taking effect without a proper response, without an effective response to that onslaught by an inimical international community. The country had for decades wallowed without a currency. And when you are a country without a currency, you cannot even relate amongst yourselves, let alone be respected on the global stage. But look at where we are today, since the advent of the Second Republic. The prestige is back. Zimbabweans are now confident about themselves. They have a can-do spirit within Zimbabwean body, population. Everybody is proud once again, to be a Zimbabwean. Our diaspora is walking with a spring in the countries where previously they did not even want to be identified as Zimbabweans. They now feel that wearing the badge of Zimbabwe is a good thing. I was just in London with the Minister of Women Affairs. It was a pride to see so many Zimbabweans come for Zimbabwe Culture Week to the embassy. But even a bigger pride to see a national team of Zimbabweans with the majority of them coming from the diaspora and a lot of them being young people who play in the English League. Now they all want to have a Zimbabwe passport and play on the badge. It's happening across other fields of sport. This is a good thing. This is a hallmark of the achievements of President E.D. Mnangagwa. So when you come, we want you to help us spread the word that the minister is doing a good work, is doing good work for Zimbabwe. And because you write on record, you are not social media, you carry more weight about what you say. Maybe you can help us marginalize some of the tendentious things which are going on social media, which have absolutely no bearing to the reality of what Zimbabweans are doing as they go to work to make their country prosper again. This week comes the culmination of the 90 days of CAB3. We have worked hard as a party to advance our position within the ambit of the Constitution. we have our political commissar and the secretary general and of course the legal department. They were the ones who were seized with this matter within the party. I hope you do take cognizance of the fact that this was essentially an executive CAB parliament undertaking. There were some smatterings about going to the judiciary by some people in Zimbabwe, which of course is right and proper under the constitution. I mentioned these three institutions: the executive, the legislature, and the courts, the judiciary. These are the pillars upon which our constitution stands, and they were the ones who have due authority about any constitutional matters about the future of Zimbabwe. So as a party, we participated as any other citizen. We participated as any other citizen, and I think we did a fair job about arguing for our position as the matter was gazetted by Parliament after, of course, the executive had submitted the proposed bill to Parliament. And there were those who felt that it could go to the courts. I don't know how far it went. But these are the right things about a constitutional democracy. Nothing wrong with it. And as a party, we respect all those processes. And we pretty much, as the Politburo of the party, kept out of the fray, waiting to hear the reports of our teams on the ground. We have had 2 meetings since this process has gone, and all of them went well. And we felt very proud about what our teams had done about CAB3. But the most important thing, which of course is maybe the main point of my press conference, is the resonant response of the people of Zimbabwe to this constitutional process. We have always argued as a party, we are proud of the fact that we have the most structured and organized political population on the African continent. We have. And the reason we have is that to be where we are today, it was a painful process, which had to involve a lot of sacrifice by almost every Zimbabwean family to be where we are, to get our independence. What it did is it raised the consciousness of Zimbabweans about who they are, how they relate to each other as they strove for unity to achieve the goal of defeating an interloper and restoring regenerating the Zimbabwean nation. So out of that comes a level of organization unparalleled on the African continent. I repeat, unparalleled on the African continent. We faced a ferocious and organized enemy who had honed the skills of imperial control of other nations. The British Empire, the sun never set, from China, Hong Kong, through Malaysia, Burma, through India, through the Middle East, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, all these Arabian countries, Africa, the whole of it, including South Africa, crossed the Atlantic, America itself, which of course later rebelled in Canada. So this is an empire which knew its game of control. And in Africa, they gave up many other territories, but they wanted to keep this one. And they put all their organizational flair to try to keep this one to themselves. So for Zimbabweans to be where they are, they had to raise the bar of organization to a superior level to that of the enemy. So we are the most organized and structured society population on the African continent. And we should be proud about it. And when we go about our democratic affairs, it shows And this process, which has just been going on, the CAB process, has shown Zimbabweans, look at this, the resonant response of the population at grassroots level. We are a party of the people. It dismisses those who feel that you can somehow control ZANU through influence. No, you control ZANU PF through popular will. That's what it is. And I want to highlight a positive aspect emanating from that. When you are in a relay race, the point of vulnerability is when the stick is being handed from the previous runner to the next runner. That is the point of vulnerability. And 2028 had now been earmarked by some, those who by detractors, as the point of opportunity, by enemies, as the point of opportunity that somehow when the stick is going to be handed, we can find a way where we can snatch it to Tizanacho to Pinda Mgomo, so that the winning team loses the race or loses direction. And the winning team is one of the President Mnangagwa. So it was very important that authority of the party, authority of its leadership, be strong at that point of 2028, because that would have been the point of vulnerability. And what our population has done in demonstrating where it stands in support of President E.D. Mnangagwa to continue to 2030 is an affirmation of the fact that the party is strong, that is, it has got the support of the people, and that the leader of the party, who has done so well, is enjoying near universal, if over universal support from the population of Zimbabwe. It has really made those who were thinking that something can happen about Zimbabwe think twice, the detractors. Even those who wanted to go to the courts, they had to throw up their hands. Maybe they still are going to do it. What has scared them? They have been intimidated by the popularity of the president and the fact that they are saying, if it is not broken, don't fix it. This man is doing a good job. Let him continue, because he is alert. He is aware of where we want to go, and we want continuity, we want stability. That's what the participation of the Zimbabwean population demonstrated. So we are not going to interfere with the other process. I told you they belong to the judiciary, they belong to the parliament, which is going to deliberate. They belong to, of course, the executive. But what we are just happy about is what our population has demonstrated about their support of the president. Those, of course, there are men who may have ambition in the party. There may be some who may have looked at 2028 as an opportunity to exercise ambition. It's legitimate within the party to have ambition. The assumption that, the mere fact that you are a politician assumes that you have ambition. So the president cannot disparage ambition within the party. But when things have gone the way they are within the party about the support of the president, we expect that ambition to respond with humility to the reality of the fact that the president is currently unchallenged in ZANU-PF. So, my side shows achimbosiwa toregera munhu ari kudiwa nevanhu amboenda pamberi nebasa rekuti nyika ende pane chimwe chigaro. So, and ambition can always be, you can always tuck it under your armpits. Ichadzoka inaona nguva yayo. There will always be a chance, and maybe you have a good chance when that time arises. But for the time being, look at what the people said by their participation in CAB3, and curtail your ambitions accordingly. so that they are in sync with the rules and regulations of the party, the popularity of the president, and the constitution of the party. The other aspect which comes out of it is that there was anxiety by Zimbabwe's well-wishers, those who have always wanted to see the country do well, and they had gone under cover during the last days of during the last 2 decades of the First Republic. People who like Zimbabwe, who wish well for this country from abroad, had sort of become reticent in their support of Zimbabwe, or actually, critical about the country which they wish so well for. President Mnangagwa restored their confidence and trust in Zimbabwe. And you see it by the amount of investment which has come into the country in the last 6-7 years. Big investment. A country which had no currency suddenly now is one of the strongest currencies in the world, especially with the collapse of the petrodollar, impending collapse of the petrodollar. All the geopolitics now is about the survivability of the petrodollar, and we are now a gold-supported country when everybody wants gold. So we now have currency, and the president has nurtured that financial evolution with dexterity to be a point where now our vaults of gold are full, and everybody is confident. Zimbabweans can relate to each other because they've got a currency. Without a currency, we can't even relate to each other among us. I can't even relate to any one of you. He has restored all that. So these people wanted, this is also including the business community, they want stability and continuity. And when there was a feeling that 2028 was a terminal point for him, everybody started becoming anxious. Zvichaita right here munyika umu, zvichaita right here munyika umu, munhu amutsa chinhichi akabva zvaari kubva zvichaita right here. So what the CAB process has done is shown the people outside that the people of Zimbabwe want that person to be on the job. And their confidence in this country, their trust in this country has been restored. I feel proud, today I was reading, this is the Sunday Mail. One article here refers to the former American ambassador, Ambassador Charles Ray. He was here for about 2 years. And being black, being a former war veteran, he loved this country. He took the bold step of saying, even if there are sanctions by my country, I'll fight to make America try to see things differently, which was really an act of boldness considering the hostility at that time. And he initiated the removal of sanctions of our 2 institutions, which is IBDC and Agribank. He did. He is writing an article now praising the president for his founding role on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, seeing it as a possible bridge about America and Zimbabwe coming together, because what makes the world move around is capital, money, fund. That's why the president says open for business. You may say whatever you want, but if you don't have capital to develop your country, you are done. That's why Marx was right, Karl Marx, when he says the capital. He was right. So he's praising the president, coming out into the open, saying what Zimbabwe did with the Victoria Falls is a bridge where America and Zimbabwe can come together. This is somebody who is retired as an ambassador as well, but he's touting the good work which the president has done. He's not the only one. We have investors from UK, Algie Clough, the one who did Fred Rebecca. He is reaching out again to say, Comrade Mnangagwa, I want to marshal as much money as I can from the UK, which is, of course, a global money center, back to Zimbabwe, because we are confident about you and your leadership and continue it. Because they looked at this process with anxiety. to say how is it going to go, will it be the end of the magic of the man who has done so much to change the fortunes of this country. They got assurance they're coming back. I mean, we've got friends from South Africa, Theo Dayaga, who used to be key advisor to President Mandela. He's an expert on land issues and the issue of compensation. He is back again in the country talking about how we can achieve an all-round positive land policy which will make sure that the region can attract capital and become a major agro-industrial force on the global stage, looking at what has happened in Ukraine, a major competitor on the global stage. These are people they are Afrikaners. They are voting for President Mugabe, for President Mnangagwa, to say the era of Mugabe is gone. This is Zimbabwe which we want, and there's continuity to that era. There's even now talking of having a conference of minorities. They no longer want to see themselves as a racial group. They want to see themselves as a part of the general population, and maybe a minority with the majorities. They are looking at summits where we can smoothen each other out as a region and present ourselves as a destination of capital where money can make wonders and bring prosperity, so that this ghost of xenophobia can be exorcised. And when you see a former minority group which identified itself as a race, now beginning to want to be seen as part of a minority which is African and part of the community, and it's so influential because it has the preferential access to capital. It is a good thing. It will make us as a region be seen in a positive light. He works with some young people from the ANC whom I know. We've been to the president, I'm Sivile Mabandla, works from the ANC confident cadre. This is a big party which has charted Africa's Pan-Africanist identity since 1910. These are good things. They are looking positively at Zimbabwe to deflect attention from those who want to sow discord among the Africans with xenophobia and make it look like Africans can never love each other. These are positive things. And our president is seen as a champion of this new Africa. You saw what he did when he brought East Africa and SADC together. And we took advantage of a more positive American President Trump. The initiative about DRC has borne fruit. The guns are dying there. You remember the slogan of the African Union was that the guns must die. And our president, because of his institutional memory over the years, he has initiated in diplomatic policies and reach outs which have now made Africans come together, but in the process made those who have had a negative view of Africa change their mind. And when there's peace in the DRC, it's the most important country because of size, because of resources, because of energy. It's a good thing. And it all, we build up, we don't want to claim credit. If big countries like America see what is positive, we want just to show that this is the way it can be done. There's another way other than to try to make African countries continuously be in strife, where African countries must are always the object of aid, US aid being the main thing, not capital. So this is a good thing which is going on. And this kind of policies require continuity and stability, particularly by a strong party like ZANU-PF, to continue to be at the center of politics in Zimbabwe by popular consent, because that's how we came into power in 1980. So this CAB3 has shown Zimbabweans their democratic jamboree for the world. And I think we've ticked our boxes positive in the perception. There are those who were used within our country who thought this country was beholden to foreigners, that foreigners would come in and say, Zimbabweans, you cannot do this, about that. But all the countries of former European colonial powers, imperial powers, they've been supportive or acquiescent. They see it as Zimbabweans coming of age in their democratic processes. So those who think that this country was brokered to foreigners, again, they've been marginalized. So we are being respected as a people with their own identity who can be masters of their own destiny. It's a good thing. This is what the Second Republic has done. That's what President Mnangagwa has done. So it is right and proper that the people of Zimbabwe, through their democratic engagement of this constitutional issue, have demonstrated that we are people who are proud of their democratic ethos. And this is why we are so happy as the Politburo of Zanupf about this process, and we are now awaiting its final outcome in the hands, of course, of those who should be doing what they should about this process. We are also happy that we have notched up global attention for the first time in major newspapers of business. To have, Forbes magazine is a serious business publication. To have it praise Zimbabwe, it's a good thing. Before, we used to be in the tabloids of England, the news of the world, about all sorts of things. Hey, avadi magay, hey, avadi this and that, hey, peripheral things which are not central to the prosperity of the people of Zimbabwe. But now we are getting attention for Forbes magazine. You now can get Bloomberg. You now see Zimbabwe. Why? I mean, we are the only country in the global south which produces lithium sulfate. Even Australia doesn't produce it, sells raw. In Zimbabwe, we've gone a notch high. We are a country in the center of Africa with a lot of steel resources, but far from the sea. We are landlocked. But by beneficiating steel, to a level which no other African country is doing now in sub-Saharan, even probably even in North Africa. We are way, way ahead. And I want you to watch some of the documentaries which are now coming out of Manize, coming out about what we have done. And what it has done is it has shown the president as a leader in value chains. Value chains are a new normative in economics. They reflect the interlinked nature of the global economy. So if you are a value chain, you are part of a process from A to Z, which produces a certain goods, and you have a role to play in that value chain. And in the last speeches of the president in the Politburo, he has emphasized the emerging role of Zimbabwe in the global value chain. I've just talked about the steel value chain. South Africa now imports all its good steel from Zimbabwe every week to go and fabricate in South Africa because they have the most advanced steel fabrication industry. It's a value chain, which we are part to. We have a lithium value chain. Morocco in the last month was trying to import lithium from Zimbabwe, but of course the president rightly said, no, we cannot, lithium sulfate. We know he's insisting that we go to the final stage, produce batteries like this one, using our lithium in Zimbabwe. These are the value chains which they're talking about. But to have these value chains develop, they need stability because they require a lot of capital and the confidence of those with technical expertise, the big companies which are in that. And when there is an appearance of fractions, when a relay stick is being passed from A to B, then that capital shies away because they cannot be sure of themselves, in that political atmosphere. So the president is providing that conducive environment, and the people of Zimbabwe are endorsing him in front of the global stage to say we have stability, we have continuity, and value chains can develop in Zimbabwe where you can predict that your company which produces things in country A or B or C which are emanating from Zimbabwe, those products can be available because the country is stable. It's not rugged by petty differences over who should be the ruler. I know, so this is a good thing, and I again repeat, if you have ambition, if it means if it is good ambition, it has a good purpose. Give your good ideas to the man who is in charge. Tell him that this is the way it could be done. But don't try to destabilize the system and say, I take over, because when the population doesn't want it. Because we cannot try you when we have no record as proven as the one which the president has demonstrated in the last 6 to 7 years. He has demonstrated and has delivered. Give him a chance. What is good which you want to do which is not doing? Tell us. Then we can whisper in his ears, but don't try to upset the apple cart and to try to upstage the system simply because it's now your ambition has become vaulting and destructive. No, that's not what the population wants. And in their behavior, their conduct, their resonant response to the CAB3 in support of continuity of presidential rule until 2030, the population has sent a signal which is good for the country, which is good for the business community on the global stage. So we are very happy at the party, but I just wanted to put those points. I mean, it's not only America, it's not only South Africa. There is a European MP, former member of parliament who loves Zimbabwe, who is investing in gold. I think it's Mario Lassalle. He's writing positive things about Zimbabwe in Europe. These are people of influence who have a leadership. That's why I mentioned them, people with influence. Influence which goes beyond, which casts Zimbabwe in another light other than the ones where we're being stigmatized about issues which do not help to bring prosperity to the people of Zimbabwe. That's what the president wants. That's what he went to fight for as a young man when we started the liberation movement, and he was the pioneer military cadre of that era. He's lucky to have survived to be where he is. There's a lot of institutional memory about why those young people and those young women died. They died for prosperity, not for anything else. And the people of Zimbabwe who fought to support those young people, who supported this place, they fought. They did it because they were seeing the prospect of prosperity. So the goal of prosperity is central to the presidential vision, and that vision is the one which is being endorsed by the call and support of continuity of his rule up to 2030. It's a good thing. Let's all accept what the majority wants and behave according to the wishes and aspirations of the majority. I am ready to answer many other things which in any direction, on any issue, I don't shy away from answering, but I hope that you get the thrust of where Zanupf party is, which is that we are very happy about the political maturity, the enthusiasm, and the structured and organized way the people of Zimbabwe have conducted themselves in a democratic process on a constitution which they fought for, which they wrote, of which our president, of course, was the main drafter. That constitution is alive and well and doing good for the country. I thank you. Yes, I'm just being whispered by my director that another, even within the domestic economic performance, we're expecting another wheat bumper harvest this year. This is a country which used to import wheat. We have joined Ethiopia as the only African country which doesn't import wheat. Our granaries are full. When you can feed yourself, you can proudly stand among nations and say, we are Zimbabweans. This is another aspect which gives even those in the diaspora so much pride. We are not worried, even when with xenophobic things in South Africa. Our people there, they are very productive. They are known to be hard workers. They are hard grinders, and they're also very, very capable. they turn capital into profit better than any other because of the high level of education which comes from the country where they originate from. So we think, you know, the President Cyril was here. He met our president. They were talking about these value chains I'm talking about, to see how our economy and that of South Africa can converge. And there's a very big opportunity for Southern Africa because one of the countries, two of the countries, three of the countries, maybe four, have got a major resources in energy. Mozambique is becoming the rival to Qatar because of Cabo Delgado. No, I think I also want to encourage Zimbabwean young people, Zimbabwean businessmen, to fly and see what's going on in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique. Thoroughly modern, global class gas infrastructure in Mozambique. That region where people used to say Ndegwema terrorists, Muslims. It's changed, it's been changed. And very soon we will be able to build power stations there using gas, and then we transmit power to Zimbabwe to exploit all the minerals in South Africa and Zimbabwe, so that this region can claim its rightful role as the source of most of the metals which drive the change from fossil fuel to new energy. Southern Africa is well endowed. All of those resources within proximity. I've said that, but you know, for those endowed, what are called the transition metals are all in Southern Africa. Zimbabwe, lithium. South Africa, manganese and vanadium. DRC, cobalt, 70%. Zambia and DRC, copper. All the cars, they drive nickel. Tanzania has developed a nickel industry which will soon be, you know, rival even that of Indonesia. Madagascar may also be coming soon. No, and look at the cooperation which is going on now even in energy between Botswana and Angola. So this is Africa's hour. This is Africa's hour. And our president is such prestige for what he has demonstrated Zimbabwe can do at a time when Africa's hour has come. So why do you want that man, you know, ari kudriva chitima zvakanaka chiri kufamba mauda kutsvaga zvei zvakare, you know, and tinoda kupromiswa zvimwe zviroto zvisina kana ana akambopurva kuti zvakamboitika. And maybe even sometimes the academic content of some of those things is very much, you know, circumscribed, to put it mildly. No, this one has proven it. NDS2, NDS1 was a trial and error for him. It has proven. Now, he has got NDS2 coming in. The beauty about it is it's based on proven delivery. In business school, you learn by what is called a case study. In America, you are taught about Apple, how it became what it is. IBM, where Boeing, how it became what it is. In China, they tell you how Alibaba became, how Huawei became what it is. That's how you learn in business school. Experience, case study. Now the president has got a clutch of case studies of success within Zimbabwe, of which the which one is but one. Now our people can build on what they feel proud. That's where we are today with this man. Now we want to bring some people as nama case studies mamboteerera zvakataurwa CAB3 nevanhu momboregera vambomhanya nechimuti ichi hamuna kagaramba wakachibata kuti tsvi tichienda kwatinoenda. And this is why as a party we are so happy about how our people conducted themselves in support of the president during CAB3. I thank you. I just said that side wind, but I'm ready to accept any questions. Thank you. Cannot?
No, I can speak up.
Yeah, of course. Names and speak up so everybody else hears, even if you say well.
Right, let's speak up. Please give us your name and media house.
Yes, my name is Marshall Bwani.
Marshall?
Wali.
Why?
Yes, I'm a freelance journalist.
Yes.
Marshall Bwani.
Name will make.
You can give him 1 year panapa. Zokai. Chimire papo chi zogera kucheka kwa 1 bus.
Yes, my name is Marshall Bwani. I'm a freelance journalist. There's been a lot of speculation concerning. Can you hear me now? Yes, there's been a lot of speculation concerning Zanupf affiliate groups. There's been a lot of speculation concerning the position of Zanupf affiliate groups. Because I understand that Zanupf affiliate groups.
It's muffled. Maybe my ears.
Okay. There's been a lot of speculation concerning the position of Zanupf affiliate groups. From what I understand,
My affiliates.
yes.
Sons of voice.
There's been a lot of speculation concerning Zanupf. I
will answer anything. Such crowd.
There's been a lot of speculation concerning the position of Zanupf affiliate groups. So I wanted to know the party's position is Zanupf banned all mobilization activities of affiliate groups.
No, it's not true. There was a political meeting that didn't happen. I think there's a misrepresentation going anyway. There was nothing like that. Didn't happen. Marty? Yeah.
I understand that there was a sports gala that was being held there, which was dispersed by anti-riot police. There are reports that this is due to Harare provincial leadership factional wars. So I wanted to know what is your position and comment on that.
That matter has just been handled properly by the National Political Commissar. We are trying as much as possible for ZANU-PF members to find peace among themselves so that the expression of the membership in support of proper and rightful activities, even like sports, is done without an undue hindrance because of pettiness. You know, we don't tolerate pettiness in ZANU-PF. I've got to be very frank about it. And the Politburo actually made a ruling along the same lines, along the lines. What I'm talking about is actually a decision of the Politburo. Some reports which bordered on petulance and pettiness, they were shunted aside and thrown out by the Politburo, and the Politburo members with line responsibility were told to go and address those issues, pull up socks of the membership so that we all work as one. And we are very confident that we will come to that. You know, ZANU-PF is like I told you, it's a party with a history of organization and structure. Some new members avachizivi chinhu ichi vanoda kudzidza zvinowanikwa kuti chinombodaiwo, because nothing must says ZANU-PF must always run its things in a smooth way. You know, we grope for way as we go along. Sometimes mistakes are made. Sometimes people do things which are untoward in ZANU-PF. The main thing is that we learn and we always try to strive for the correct path. And the president is giving direction in that aspect. So I take note, the matter is under control. And I want to assure our membership that those who are involved in sports activities and any other activities which are conducive to party prosperity, to party well-being, they will not be stopped. And those who may be wayward, they have to curtail their behavior, I think.
Is there another question? Your name and media house?
Okay, good afternoon, sir. My name is Anna Chibala from newspaper.com. My question is in regards with the health sector. in Zimbabwe.
Is what?
Health sector.
Yes.
Yeah, things have not been so well for Zimbabwe's health sector as much as the country has experienced some developments in mining, some sectors, agriculture and the like. But the health sector is lacking, and recently we heard that Paminyatwa referral group of hospitals is going through the theatre section, is running under emergency mode. So this is not so good when some sectors are improving. Then we have our health sector lacking. It means something is wrong. How is Zanupf as a party working with the government to make sure that people get health services? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very, very important question. A question of concern, because a health misfortune can befall anyone, including us, but even worse, those in the population who have lesser means than some of those who are doing very well. We've got to look at it with some historical perspective. You know, in the 1980s, because of the momentum of the independence of the war, Zimbabwe notched up a very high growth rates, and generally our services sector, our social security sector, responded to a strong economy, and it was doing well. Then, of course, after 2000, we had a fallout with our major Western traditional trading and business partners. And as an economist, as a financeman, and I'm from New York, that's why I did my finance in New York, I can tell you that no country's capital stock got lost at the rate at which Zimbabwe's capital stock did. You know, it's almost like we were in a war, the loss of our capital stock. When I say our capital stock, I say our money, there was a bleeding of this economy. It's almost a hemorrhage of the money of the economy of Zimbabwe. That's why we ended up with the worst inflation in the world. You know, with an inflation, if inflation is measured as the rate of which Zimbabweans are transacting money in business, our inflation became faster than the speed of light, which means Zimbabweans were transacting money faster than the speed of light, which is a physical impossibility. But it means the currency was under attack, basically by marauders who were using the calculator to depreciate the currency, because the government had lost or forfeited its role to print money on behalf of the Zimbabwe population. Everybody knows we used to use a company's currency called Old Mutual Implied Rate. We used to have Eco Cash, give money to people without collateral on their phones. So this hemorrhaging of capital hit hard our country. But the president, since he has restored the currency to the point where inflation is now zero. It is out of that cumulative regeneration of the economy that we shall have the resources which are needed so that our social services sector must also be in sync with the other sectors. But you've got to understand, mining is actual production. You are selling goods immediately. You make money. Agriculture is actual production. So the growth of those economies are the ones which then make us have the surplus, which can then give us the social security services which you want. But you also remember, sanctions also were aimed at making sure that Zimbabweans do not have a health sector which they deserve. And even in most of the urban areas, it is city councils which should provide most of those health facilities. That's why towns are there, to provide services. But you look at the 2 decades of the rule of the opposition, No town has got an identity in Zimbabwe. No idea, because a town must have an identity. Town mayors, they don't even look for investment, because it is investment which gives us the money to then go to social services. So it's an economy which was dislocated. The president is doing his best to put it back so that it can have the things which we are talking about. When he says open for business, that's where the resources are. It's not only the health sector which is suffering. There is another service sector. Our infrastructure. Look at the roads. Look at, we're exporting steel to South Africa using trucks. That destroys even the road which has been built. Then we will soon have a similar challenge than like the one which we have with the Victoria Falls. Because the money to build infrastructure comes from a relationship with those countries which have got excess capital. And those countries which had excess capital were the ones which were sanctioning us. So now, of course, that's why I was talking to you about the positives of an Ambassador A, and Michael, these are people who are now trumpeting the good cause of Zimbabwe. It means we can now have money on the global market very soon. And when your currency is strong and it's not depreciating, you can also now have respect of lenders from abroad. People don't want to lend their money in US dollars and then tomorrow they are told the money has disappeared because of inflation. So these are the challenges of an economy which was masticated, like Zongororo Rakangarafa, Radimukadimuka Muzuva. Now the president is putting it back together, this economy. And it's not a process which can happen across the board at the same time. It's not Oranguva. But you cannot doubt the commitment and the drive of the president. That's why I'm saying the people of Zimbabwe, by having him continue, they are making us spend more time doing the business than quarreling amongst ourselves. Anofana kutonga ndiani, anofana kunga asikatonge ndiani, ndindofana kutonga ndakazoti chichichi. No, that's not these things which you are talking about should be the ones we should be occupying everybody's time. And that's what the electorate is showing in CAB3. So those who may want to give us this, to make us be distracted from these core issues, they should cave in to the president. We focus, then we build the sinews and the capacity to have the necessary capital and to be also to have the necessary capital appeal, not only domestic but foreign. Then out of that capital, we can address the issues which you are talking about. Without capital, very difficult to address those issues. In fact, it's impossible to address those issues. I hope that answers you. It's a task at hand, but it requires the restoration of the economic viability of the country. And that's what the president has done, to restore the economic viability. But then, you cannot then do everything. High jump in one day. Some things lag, others follow. But the thing which is good is that the direction has been set. And we don't want that direction to be disturbed. Because it will address the issues which you have just raised. Then Zimbabweans will have. The good thing is that we have a high human resource index, even in the diaspora. If we continue on this rate, the seamless environment between what's going on in Zimbabwe and in the diaspora will make the diaspora people come back home. And in countries where they were working, they have all these skills which you are talking about. So we will not have a problem of skills if we can provide the conducive atmosphere at home, environment, at home. Because we have the advantage which Africa doesn't have, a highly skillable human resource. Because to jump from education to skills is so easy. If you don't have education, you can't have skills. And we are confident that a seamless evolution, and the diaspora is very proud of the president, I told you. These are sinews which will help us overcome the challenges. We are better placed to overcome these challenges than many other African countries. I hope I answer you. But I don't want to dwell on the past about who was responsible for this or that. Because the president, I tell you, If the president had dwelt on the past, he would have tried to settle scores with people who were persecuting him before the advent of the Second Republic. What it would have done is he would have taken his eyes off the windshield of the car which is going forward. He would have looked at the rear view mirror. He would have spent years tichingona headlines kuti uyakazoba mari, uyakazodi, aenda kujeri, adi. But what that does is takes you management time from running things which are good for the country, which are the future. So the president has decided not to be distracted about who did what in the past, because as we nadziri ramangwana settlement scores, chine basa ndechekuti tiri kuenda kupi. So that generosity of spirit, which now muZimbabwe atinetsane nezvinhu zvemanga-manga. Hakuna anonzi muforeigner vakabva maZambians vakauya takapa citizen, maMalawi takapa citizen, maMozambique takapa. Pana anombobvunzana muno kuti uziye kuti and kana uri muAfrican, how do you know which African is not from Zimbabwe and the other one, this one is from Zambia? Ungamubvuziye muZambia ipapa ndikakubvunzai. So how do you want this is what Zimbabwe has done, and that's the tradition which the president is keeping to make a cohesive United Nation inoita kuti tiite address the issues you are talking about. With unity, it's easier to address those issues because you can then sell stability to the global community, and selling stability to the global community gives the country a fighting chance to attract the capital, which will develop our very good resources because we have a good human resource capacity to develop them. And when we do that, we create prosperity. And when we create prosperity, we also have a very, very high social security index. This is where we are going with the president. That's why it says Vision 2030. Another question?
Do you have another question? The mic.
My name is Talent. I'm a freelance journalist. I wanted to Talent Mshamani, freelance. I wanted to ask, you have spoken of how proud you are as a party on the response of the people of Zimbabwe on CAB3. So my question goes on to say, the parliament said there are only about 300,000 submissions that were made, and the country's population is about 50 million. So will that not affect the legitimacy of the process? Because it's only about 300,000 that what they will be working with.
The reports which are coming to our polity from our participate, our team leaders, they speak of much higher levels of engagement than what you are talking about. You are talking of only written. There were oral submissions. There were meetings held, and some of them were huge gatherings in rural areas. Unless you want to say only those who write are the ones who should be considered. No, even those who don't write also they have to be considered. But anyway, the people whom they represent, the people who represent them are in parliament. Do kune nyaya iyoyo. Isusu wedu kupati takaita basa redu kuconvince vanhu vanomirira parliament kumamisha. Kana zvauri kutaura zviri chokwadi izvi, pamwe vedu vari kuparliament vachataura kuti vanhu havana kurespond. Towirirana newe, but pamwe you are offside because vedu vatiri kuripota vanomirira vanhu kuparliament vari kuti vanhu vakanga vaine enthusiasm isati yambooneka, vaive neshungu yekuve nechinhu ichi. Saka parliament ndokwazvinotaurwa ikoko. Inini hangu handisini muridzi wezvimubvunzo wako iwoyo. Kana uchifunga kuti vanhu havana kuita, enda unotaura kune vanhu vari kuparliament kuti vanhu havana kuita basa racho. It could also be, he says, it would be also an organization, 300,000, maybe there are about 20,000 people in those submissions. I mean, the parliamentary process belongs to the Speaker of Parliament. Though I think they want to keep your question for that day. But it's quite isusu report that we're going to put it bureau. Vakaisa pfungwa dzavo zvakasimba, taizviona mavideo, taivaona mibvunzo yechibvunzwa. It was, we are structured part. We know we live by structures and organizations. Ma chairman edu, ma district chairman edu, kwaive nedingi rasati ramboonekwa nenyaya iyoyi. Saka pamwe you are just using one yardstick. Try to use others. And also, enda kune ma-invigilator acho anomaka nyaya iyo. Ina handiti zvimake izvozvo.
Is there any other question? Anyone else? Only 3.
Yeah, you see, our president met Cyril. It was a confidential, private meeting. For a long time, there was a perception by those who used to rule Africa that African leaders, when they are talking, we should be there so that we can interpret or give them agendas of what they are talking about. So, Atema wakazosangana vama leaders and showing maturity that we can talk confidentially about our issues. Then they start making snide remarks about those meetings. Kuti vakazosanganira itisipo, pakazopinda ana akazoti, chichichi. Rimwe ingori nyaya yekuti the relationship, the bonds between Zimbabwe and South Africa, they are tightening because of the value chains which I talked to you about. And the confidence which we are having with each other as neighbors. By the way, the best financial cadreship on the African continent is in South Africa. For a long time, it has not taken any interest in Zimbabwe, except in certain areas, in a very, hesitant manner. Now, things are changing. And the president is very conscious of building the value chains which ride on the competence of the most capable financial cadreship on the African continent, which is in South Africa. And when your neighbor votes for you in any activity which you are doing, you do well because he announces to the whole world that kune chinhu chakanaka. When you cannot have your neighbor support you, it's very difficult for you to be seen in good light by those who are far. So the bonds between South Africa and Zimbabwe, they are tightening, they are good. And we very much like, and it is reflected in that meeting, the two presidents had in a relaxed atmosphere to look at the vision where this region can go on the global stage. With all the actions which are going on in the Middle East, the handover which is now happening between one superpower and another, and the rise of middle nations as regional powers, and Canada, all things are good. All things are good. We just need to keep stability and continue it in this country. And the champion of that for the present time, the president. Musaterere vamwe vese vaya. Asatamboona chavakaita chingaite kuti vaite deserve what they are clamoring for. As ava takachiona, tiri kuchiona, tichachiona. I thank you. Thank you so much.